Alrighty, so for your second due date of the second week of the semester, again, you see this pattern is lecture, hands-on, current topics. So for the lecture this week, I found, again, a little new content. And so in this case, I want you to watch the first 30 minutes of this video, take notes in a file that you name week 3 in your private repo in the lectures directory. Okay, and as before, submit the URL. Let me just open this though and show you about where that's at. Is that it's, 30 minutes is about in this area. And so I actually think the whole thing is really good, but I've decided not to make you watch the whole thing for notes, but I recommend if you have time, because what I really like about this is that he's giving an overview, a roadmap really for becoming a developer in 2020. And so there's so many different parts to understand about this, and that I think he does a good job of introducing how they're all related. I really like this mind map that he uses, and the mind map is notice the thumbnail that I'm at is he gives you like how, because there are some things that you wouldn't learn until later. The things you're learning in this class are actually covered in his roadmap, which I find really helpful because it's something I really strive is to give you content that I really feel helps you understand the field, whether or not, again, you're going to do this for a living, but understanding just having a broad knowledge of what these things are and what the roadmaps are. I think it's good. So again, go to about 30. In here, I recommend if you have time, do the rest of it. But just like before, when you're done, you're going to give us the link to your week 3.markdown file in your private repo, and then you'll be done with this first item. Okay, so the second item for this second week is something that we're going to start that you're going to end up using for your project 0. So that's why I find it really helpful to introduce it here, and we already start at least getting acquainted with it. So we're going to use GitHub, a feature called Pages. And this is great because it allows you to host a website on GitHub. And what you're going to do for your project 0 is create a website. And so this is a complete free system, and that is used in web development for developers, for coders. And so learning more about it is always good. Okay, so let me just click into here. What you're going to end up doing, and I'll come back to this towards the end, is you'll share your URL. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and move over to GitHub. I'm logged in as my student account. And just to contextually understand is that you and I have been working so far inside of the CIT82 directory, but you're about to work outside of that, okay? And as a matter of fact, you're going to be working in your own GitHub user account, because in order for you to create a site, and actually you can see that I'd already created one in a prior semester. Here, this is actually the one, and I'm going to walk you through the naming of it because that's a really important part. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to click in here real quick. Yeah, actually, I'm going to pause and delete this so you can see me recreate it. Okay, so again, we're in your own GitHub user area. Okay, not in the course repo. And in here, this is where we're going to end up. And I'm just going to click into here, right, to see my user, my GitHub user. Here we go. So new. So the next part of this, once I click new, the way you can confirm you're in the right area is it should say whatever your GitHub username is here. Okay, and we are going to make this public. But this is the key, is the way that you name this. So first you have to use the actual username that you have created, .github.io. Okay, so follow this exactly. Again, whatever and don't do, if you're hopefully your username doesn't have uppercase. If not, typically you want to do all lowercase. But if you have done uppercase and you need to follow that, whatever you've done, the .github.io, everyone will have, and it is all lowercase. Has to be public. We will go ahead and initiate a README file. And we'll go ahead. For now, we're not going to create ignore file. You'll learn about that in a couple weeks. And now, believe it or not, and there's nothing on here yet, okay? There's actually only a README file. We're actually going to create another file, create a new file. And this file you're going to learn about in future videos be called, and this is lowercase index, not in a subdirectory, .html, okay? And there's really some more content, some more tags, but for now, just to make it a little bit easier until you get introduced to some of those tags, I'm going to do opening bracket, H1, ending bracket, and hello world. If I can spell it. There we go. And then I'll come down here, I'll just take the defaults and I'll create that file. Okay, so why did I do that? I did that so that now I can actually see this. This is what my website is going to be as far as the URL that you go to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. And this is really important. I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to paste that. Now, it may take it a minute to render. Oh, it actually did pretty well. Hello world should come up. Okay. So this is we've created a repo repository that you will end up through our course using to create your project 0. Again, you'll learn about this in future weeks. Okay. All right, so what do you need to do to submit this? By the way, you can add some more content here. You can play around. Again, if you know a little HTML, you can go ahead and do that. There is definitely some HTML code, just some standard code. And what I'm doing here is I'm opening up my editor real quick, just to grab some of that code so you can see it. But again, I'm going to come back here. Again, this is not required. I just want you to see which really, right? And actually notice what it did. Oh, actually that's the README file. So that's good. It's actually the index file that I wanted to come in here and edit. Okay, so we'll do that real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so in here where I just did an H1, I'm actually going to show you, because you'll learn this later, but I just think it's worth showing you now. It's like if we were really, and you will be doing more involved web pages using HTML in the very near future. These are tags. All right, so this is the Doctype, which tells the browser what kind of document it is, an HTML tag saying what kind of language it is. Notice how everything is nested in there. You have a head tag, which is really just a browser telling whoever is getting this file some more about it. And then here really would be the H1 that we were doing before. And by the way, you're going to love it when we get to using VS Code, because it makes our lives so much. Matter of fact, I think it's almost hard for me to code without it these days. But in this case, if I save it, it's not that it's going to look any different. Let's come back over here, hit refresh, right? Still going to look the same, but if I do an inspect on this, right, I'm going to actually see, although this, yeah, I did get that in there, okay? By the way, had I not even done this, the browser actually will add some of this if it doesn't find it, but it's just very good practice. It's a standard way we do things that you include that. All right, so now let's actually talk about submitting it. Okay, so this is the part I noticed it really make sure you understand the difference between looking at this through GitHub, that you're looking at it through the GitHub user interface versus from the rendered site. So from here on out, when I ask for your github.io site, this is what I mean. Now, by the way, this is really representing GitHub pages. So when I said in the assignment GitHub pages, what we've done is we've set it up as a repo, and by naming it IO, we're using pages, which is the feature of GitHub. But this HTTP, your username .github.io is what you'll actually submit. Let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so for this item, we've already done this. This is the public facing one. I'll walk you through the process. I did that. So in your writing, you can discuss an app or a website idea you've considered creating and give a link to your GitHub pages. So this would be, I could do it this way. I could paste it in there just by itself. If I wanted, I could play around with this and maybe make it a little bigger, not required, but it's kind of nice. And if you wanted to, you could actually drop into the HTML to see what it did here. Okay. By the way, putting a link on an H1, like when we go into actual HTML in more depth, you'll see why you typically don't do that. But for here, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. All I did was once I pasted it in, right, I selected that heading. I hit, because right now you're looking at what's called the WYSIWYG. So I moved into the HTML editor for you to see that HTML that's in there that you're going to learn through this course. And then I go back to the rich editor here, and you do a little writing. Okay, 150 words. Again, this is hands-on, so there's no replies required. Okay. All right. So that is your second item and your last item. Actually, before I did this, I decided to see if there was any other content newer than this one. This one is a little dated, but honestly, this is the best because HTTPS, right, which is, if you see the lock, that is HTTPS, which is an encryption method, so that when we're doing that HTTP protocol, we are securing away to the best of our abilities, which, by the way, there are ways to, hackers can try to circumvent that process, and there's ways as web developers we try to make that impossible. Not always impossible, but at least try to make it hard. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to watch this video. It's pretty quick, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Okay, write 100, and there's so many different topics that they talk about. So pick a topic, go do some research, right? On the web, just, general searches, go do some research to find out more about that topic, right? HTTPS. Now this wouldn't, well, you could, the first person out could do this one. Like, here's a link, right? So I could copy that. And that what you'd want to do here is read through this, right? So why was this? And the answer to why might have been, it was the easiest. No, not a great answer, but choose one that you've found perked your interest, right? And then in your reply, I want you to give a link to, link to the article or video. Could be video. Totally could be a video here, okay? There we go. And then talk about the selected topic. So what did you learn from doing your research here? What is it you're going to walk away knowing? Because really, this is one of those topics that understanding HTTP and web security, because again, there's a lot more involved in web security. HTTP is definitely one of the ways we can work on to make our sites more secure. And by the way, she gives great reasons why you want to do that. And it's really all about your users and protecting their content. Okay, so do that, provide links, and do 2 substantive replies here. Okay, all right, so that's what you want to do for this week. I hope you enjoyed the content that we're doing, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.